Today we will be talking about our second installment of activity trackers. This one is entitled Battle of the Activity Bands. We're going to be discussing different highlighted bands, our Fitbit, Jawbone, Polar Loop, Garmin, Withings, and Nike FuelBand. I do want to point out that this list is not a comprehensive list. Something to keep in mind when you're checking out activity bands. We do suggest that you look at other ones in addition to these that we're highlighting. The reason we chose these, you may recognize some of the names such as the Polar or the Garmin. They're both pretty popular names in fitness. They make a host of other watches and heart rate monitors, that kind of thing. The rest of the bands up there are bands that are more popular in the market, so they're ones that you're more likely to see out there. Today we're going to be talking about activity, sleep, nutrition, and the various software for each of these bands. So again, just want to point out that each band offers different features, and make sure that you check them out before you purchase the band. So our first one up is the Fitbit Flex. So the Fitbit Flex tracks activity, various different parts of activity, steps, distance, active minutes, which I do want to point out for active minutes, it's actually different than what you would consider an active minute. So getting up from the couch and going to the kitchen is not necessarily going to be counted as an active minute in the Fitbit. Active minutes are more extensive, higher intensity periods of activity, such as taking a walk around the block or going for a run. That will be counted more as an active minute than just kind of moving around the house or moving around your office. I do want to point out as well that estimated calories expended, we do want to let you know that the calories are estimated. It's not an exact measurement. They estimate it based on gender, height, weight, and the activity that Fitbit tracks. So it'll give you a pretty good picture of what you're going to be expending, but it won't be exact. Fitbit does offer its own food database. It has various foods that you can choose. You can give an estimate of your calorie input so you can see how well you're balancing that input and output as an overall picture. Fitbit is still adding things to their database. If you prefer, if you already use a nutrition tracking software you really like MyFitnessPal, Fitbit can integrate with a lot of those, so you don't have to use their platform, but it is nice that they have it. Fitbit does sleep tracking as well, number of times awakened, time asleep, so nothing really specific, but it does paint a nice picture for you, as well as a silent alarm. So I actually really like this silent alarm. I have a Fitbit myself, and I use that to wake up. It's a really nice way to wake up. It just is a gentle vibration on your wrist. It's really kind of soothing instead of having your alarm, buzzing next to your head. It really is very nice. It's especially nice, too, since my husband and I share a bed. I don't wake him up when I have to get up particularly early. So that's a nice feature. Software, the Fitbit Flex is a wrist wearable, as you can see from the picture over here. You can order different colors of bands. Some packages that you buy at a department store will come with more bands. So it just has this little implement that you can take in and out of the band. So you can have different colors to match different outfits, or if you're feeling a different color that day. So that's a nice feature. There is no screen display other than these 4 lights right here. So every time you meet 25% of your goal, whatever your goal might be, one of those lights will light up. When you get 100% of your goal, all 4 of them will light up and it'll vibrate on your wrist to kind of let you know that you did it. The Fitbit does sync wirelessly to your phone. You can also hook it up to your computer. They do have a computer software. It's extremely easy to use. I've really enjoyed using mine. Next up, we have the FitbitOne. So the FitbitOne, as you can see, is a little bit different. It does track steps and distance and estimated calories expended, just like the Fitbit Flex. But you can see that it also adds in stairs. So this one will track some elevation, let you know how many flights of stairs you've climbed that day. So that's a neat feature. This one does not have nutrition tracking on its app. That is reserved for the Flex. But don't let that deter you. You can always, as I said, Fitbit does integrate with a lot of other applications. So something like MyFitnessPal or Lose It would easily integrate if you prefer this type of wearable or this type of screen. Just like the Fitbit Flex, the FitbitOne does number of times awakened, time asleep, and they do have that nice vibrating silent alarm. It's a clip-on wearable. You can put it multiple places on the body. This one is really small, actually. You can wear it, like on a bra strap, or you can put it on your belt loop, something like that. One of the downfalls, this one is possible to forget to put it on. With the Fitbit Flex, you can take a shower with it. You can sleep with it on, and you're not going to forget about it because it's just on your wrist. But with something like the FitbitOne, if you're hooking it to your belt loop, it may be more possible to forget it. The FitbitOne also syncs wirelessly with your smartphone or tablet. It can also connect to the computer the same way that the Fitbit Flex can. You can use their interface on the PC. You can see here in the picture that the FitbitOne also has a screen display. You can go ahead and scroll through. You can see your steps. You can see your elevation for stairs climbed, various things like that. So if you prefer a screen display, it's a nice one to have. And I did just insert this graph up here for the PowerPoint for you to see the way that some of the graphs will be spit out. So this is one of the sleep graphs. You can see these light blue areas are areas of restlessness. The red is areas of being awake, while the dark blue is more of that peaceful sleep. So it's not super detailed, but it gives you a really nice idea. And maybe you can see, okay, well, what did I do a particular night where I didn't sleep as well? If you had caffeine late, or you did something that was a little bit more vigorous right before you went to bed and you're just kind of awake. It's really nice to be able to see those patterns laid out in front of you. So the next up we have our jawbone up. So the jawbone up, it gives things in a little bit more detail than the Fitbit platform. So if you're looking for more detail, it does activity, steps, active minutes, distance, but this one also differentiates between low intensity and high intensity activity. It has an idle alert. So it has a specific idle alert. It's pretty cool, actually. So the jawbone can vibrate on your wrist. You can set it for however long you'd like, however many intervals you'd like, perhaps like every 60 minutes you'd like to get up from your desk. If you set that idle alert, it will gently vibrate on your wrist to remind you to get up. You can set that, like I said, to everything anytime that you like. So just a neat feature for that one. Also does estimated calories expended. Jawbone does have its own nutrition base, the same way that the Fitbit does. There's a little bit more in depth. You can take pictures of food. You can add recipes if you'd like. You can scan barcodes of products that you already have. So it just adds some of those nicer elements that make it a little bit easier to track food instead of searching for every single ingredient or every single meal that you're eating. Jawbone also offers caffeine tracking as part to enhance their nutrition and their sleep tracking. So I inserted a couple screenshots from the Jawbone Coffee app. I don't have a Jawbone, so you can still use this app without the Jawbone, but it does provide some enhancements if you do have it. So you can see it'll just fill this little tube here with how much caffeine you have, and it'll tell you when you're sleep ready. So for me, I wouldn't have been sleep ready that night until after 11 p.m. because of the caffeine that I drank that morning. So just kind of a cool thing that'll offer some different facts, and it does like jawbone type studies, and it's just aggregate information of who's drinking caffeine and how much and what type. It's just really kind of an interesting app. The sleep tracking, again, is a little bit more in-depth than the Fitbit tracking. This one does light sleep versus deep sleep in addition to number of times awakened and total time slept. This one has a silent alarm and a smart alarm. So that smart alarm, you can set it within 30 minutes of your alarm, your awake time. So for example, if you're getting up at 7 a.m., you can set it to go off between 6:30 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. And what this will do is the Jawbone will track when you're at your optimal amount of sleep. So basically when you start to become a little bit more restless, when you start to get out of that deep sleep and enter more of that light sleep. So it'll gently wake you up from that portion instead of jolting you awake from a deep sleep. So just another nice way to wake up. It's also, it's also a little bit more beneficial for your body so that you're not waking up groggy. The Jawbone software, you can see it as a wrist wearable. However, this one does not wirelessly sync data. This one must be plugged in to the headphone jack on your phone or tablet or your computer in order to transfer the data. There's no screen display on the Jawbone. So again, you'll have to take it off your wrist and plug it in anytime you'd like to check your progress. It is very easy to use, and some of the other things it offers are mood tracking, and it does a coaching feature as well. So the mood tracking can be really important because it can help you to see the instant benefits of when you engage in a healthy behavior. So in addition to associating mood with the types of choices that you make, it'll also show you, like, when I make a good choice, I feel better. So it's just a really nice thing to be able to see. The coaching is pretty basic, but it does give you some suggestions on goals based on how well you're meeting your current goals. Next up, we have the Polar Loop. So the Polar Loop focuses mainly on activity. It does steps, distance. You can pair it with a heart rate monitor if you already own a Bluetooth-based heart rate monitor, or heart rate strap, that is. You can also buy the Polar Loop bundled with a heart rate monitor if that's something that you're interested in. The Polar Loop does differentiate between low intensity and high intensity activity. It also has that idle alert, although theirs is a little bit different than the Jawbone. The idle alert for the Polar Loop, you can see on the picture right here, it has lights. So as you're going through your day, if you've been sedentary too long, that bar will fill up, and once you have a full bar, that means you need to get up and move around in order to mitigate that a little bit. This one also estimates calories expended. It's a lot more accurate calorie count if you're pairing it with a heart rate strap. Something to keep in mind. This one does not have their own nutrition tracking platform, nor does Polar integrate currently with different nutrition tracking applications. However, if you'd like to track nutrition, you still can use those other applications. It just won't factor in to the Polar Loop data. You'd have to do that manually. The Polar Loop does time of sleep, so they don't really get into a lot of detail with the sleep tracking. It's a wrist wearable. They have a nice screen display. There's a little button on it that you can switch between different, your steps, your distance. You can check your heart rate if you're wearing a heart rate monitor. This does wirelessly sync to your tablet, your smartphone, and it can also connect to your computer as well. One of the fun things about the Polar Loop is that it is waterproof. So the Jawbone and the Fitbits are water resistant, but the Polar Loop is actually waterproof for up to 20 meters. So you can swim with this activity tracker, and it will give you a pretty good measure of your overall calories and distance and that sort of thing. Again, for Android users too, this one does not have an Android app yet, so this one is only available on iOS. I'm not sure if one is forthcoming, so we will have to see about that. Next up, we have the Garmin vivofit. So the Garmin, again, is a big name in fitness. They do a lot of heart rate monitoring the same way that Polar does. So you can see under the activity bullet here, you can pair the Garmin vivofit with a heart rate strap if you own that Bluetooth heart rate monitor. You can, again, buy it as a bundle if you'd prefer. The Garmin vivofit does the idle alert pretty similarly to how the Polar Loop does. This bar right here will fill up your screen, and once it gets over here to the far point and you've got one full red bar, that means that you have to get up. And this one actually makes you do a little bit more work with your idle alerts than some of the other ones. You actually have to walk around for a certain amount of time to get that bar to go down. So I think it's like 3 to 5 minutes, something like that, to get that bar to actually go back to the beginning and start over again. The Garmin vivofit does intensity, and they'll actually break it down into your heart rate zones if you have the heart rate strap. So you can see over here this person with their screenshot, they were using it with a heart rate strap, and you can see some differences over here. It'll give average heart rate, maximum, etc. And then if you clicked over here, you could get your percentage of your maximum heart rate and your zones, which will help you if you're training for something in particular, help you train a little bit more specifically. This one does not have its own nutrition platform. Just like the Polar, though, you can use something outside of it and manually, calculate your input versus output if you would like. So don't let that deter you. The Garmin does periods of restlessness and time of sleep. So again, not super big on the sleep tracking. This one is more geared towards concentrating on the activity the same way that the Polar is. The Garmin vivofit is a wrist wearable. It has a nice screen display, although I do want to point out that the screen display is not backlit. So if you want to check it out, at night or something, you'll have to go near a light. You won't be able to press a button and light it up. This one does sync wirelessly with both Android and iPhone. And one of the interesting things about the Garmin vivofit, there is no charging required for this one. So most of the trackers, their charge will last between 5 and 10 days usually. The Garmin has a watch battery in it that lasts up to a year, so you won't need to charge it. You'll just have to buy a new watch battery when the time comes. The Garmin does have mood tracking, so you can again see how your mood affects your behaviors and maybe get some of that instant feedback with how those behaviors make you feel good. If you go for a run and you feel great when you're done. The Garmin vivofit is a waterproof device, so you can swim with this one. The devices with the heart rate straps, I do want to point out as well, can be used for cycling. So the Jawbone and the Fitbit are not very accurate for cycling. They don't have the right accelerometer, so if you were to wear it around your ankle, for example, it would not accurately track your RPM. But with the vivofit and the Loop, if it's paired with a heart rate monitor, it will work for biking. If it is not paired with the heart rate monitor, it will be like the Fitbit or the Jawbone, where it doesn't accurately calculate the RPMs and add it into your activity. So this one also has a little bit of that coaching in it. The goals are a little bit more dynamic, so if you hit your goal, it will increase it a little bit. When it's, if you hit it a few days in a row, that is, it'll increase it a little bit. Just, hey, you're meeting this goal pretty often, so we're going to go ahead and increase it, give you a little something extra to strive for. It'll also do vice versa. So if you miss your goal a few days in a row, it'll decrease it a little bit, give you something a little bit more realistic to go for. So next up we have the Withings Pulse O2. So the Withings does all of those various activities, steps, distance. It does do elevation, so you can see the stairs, estimated calories expended, and then I also have this running mode. So when you go into the running mode, it'll track your activity a little bit more accurately than if you're outside of the running mode. It kind of prepares it for that. So one of the cool things about this one is that it actually has pulse monitoring and an oximeter. So you can see in the picture that the guy has his finger up to this little sensor right here. When he puts it up to that, it'll actually send light so it can read your pulse through your fingertips. Resting heart rate is a really great way to assess your physical fitness. So something that's kind of cool to keep track of. The oximeter, just some oxygen saturation, so might be kind of neat. It stores data on the device for 10 days. Outside of that, you can store the device on an Excel sheet for much longer. The Withings also can sync wirelessly to a mobile device. This one does not have any computer applications. So something important to point out: if you don't own any tablets or smartphones, this one cannot go on a computer. The Withings is a clip-on wearable, and they also actually just came out with a wristband. So this little guy right here can clip on to your shoe, it can clip onto your belt, your bra strap, same way that the Fitbit can. But it also has this watch band, which I don't have a picture of, unfortunately, and you can change the colors of it by different colors, and it'll put it on your wrist, kind of like a watch. So this one, again, has a really nice screen display. You can look at your steps, you can look at your elevation, your heart rate will be displayed on there when you check it, and your oxygen saturation as well. The Withings also does light sleep versus deep sleep, so a little bit more in depth with that sleep information as well as total time of sleep. In addition to having the little extra heart rate and O2, I do want to point out with the heart rate as well that they recommend on the website that the heart rate monitoring is just at rest. They don't guarantee any accuracy if you want to use it while you're exercising. So something to think about as well if you are in a position where you're getting ready to start training for an event or something, you may want to look at something that has an actual heart rate monitor that you wear as opposed to using this like your consistent heart rate monitor. The Withings Pulse app is a really great app, actually. It's got very highly rated reviews. They also offer some of that coaching, and they'll give you some suggestions on goals based on data that you've tracked. So last but not least, we have the Nike FuelBand. So the Nike FuelBand does activity a little bit different than some of the other bands. They assign fuel points to activities. So fuel points are assigned to a person based on height, weight, and gender. And then each activity has its own fuel point. So it makes it a little bit more game-like. They go for, if you prefer more game-like feel, this one is definitely the way to go. It'll also track your steps, time, distance. It'll have idle alerts, which they call an hours kind of thing. Like the Polar and the Garmin, the idle alert is a light up type of thing over here. You can see the band down there. Something to point out with the ones that just light up, if you have a shirt that's covering your wrist, it may not always be as visible or as readily to get you up and moving as something like the Jawbone where it vibrates on your wrist. So just something to think about. The Nike FuelBand has this button over here. You can press it to switch between screen displays. You can customize what you would like on your display, so that's something that's kind of cool. The Nike FuelBand does not have its own nutrition tracking platform, but again, you can use a different app if you would prefer. Don't let the lack of their own nutrition tracking platform deter you if you really like the features of this band. Nike does not really do a lot with the sleep. They do restless versus restful sleep, and that's really about it. When I've read reviews on it, a lot of people have not found a lot of accuracy in the sleep, so theirs is much more activity and game-based. There's a lot more social elements to it. You can see over here that you win trophies for different activities that you can complete it. You can challenge friends to things, and if you put them in like a sessions mode when you're challenging your friends, it'll even the playing field with the Nike Fuel Points. All right. So theirs is definitely more extensively social-based. You can also customize the app on your phone, so you can see, so you can put things that are more important to you on the sidebars. I do want to point out that this one is not compatible with Android at this time either. This device is just an iOS device. It also can go on the PC. And I'm not sure if an Android app is forthcoming, but something to think about if you do have an Android device and you would like it on your smartphone. So that is about it, everyone. I thank you very much for joining us today. I hope it was useful information to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to email. Have a wonderful afternoon, and thank you very much.